Good afternoon, everybody. Keith Engel here for TGI Sports Talks Major League Baseball update. We got a lot to cover today. We can get rid of some of this music. What do you think about that? Great to have you with us. We'll take your topics and comments and whatnot, and we'll also talk about all the Major League Baseball trades, the weird Ohtani contract, and what my thoughts are there. And some other stuff. I got to do a little work thing here. Okay, I'm back. Anyway, we want to welcome everybody watching today on TGI Sports Talk on Facebook and YouTube. Obviously, Northeast Streaming Sports. We're live on Facebook, YouTube, and the Roku channel. Make sure you get that Roku channel downloaded for Northeast Streaming Sports. Lots of great content there. And also, Let's Talk Sports. We're live on YouTube today, right now, as we speak. So, hoping we can continue to bring you some fun Major League Baseball updates throughout the winter. Obviously, right now, it's the hot stove time, so there's lots and lots of stuff going on. Good afternoon, Dave Guyette. Good to have you with us. We're going to talk about the Soto trade, and I am not happy, as you'll find out, about the Soto trade. And also, by the way, a quick shout-out to two things. Thumbs up, DDH, and quick shout-out to Ralph Williams over there at RW Media, and specifically the Sports Corner that he does with Smokin' Jim Frazier every Tuesday at 5 o'clock on 12:30 a.m. and on 99.3 FM. WBZP, I'm going to say. If I got that wrong, I apologize, and we'll fix it later. But I misplaced my little cheat sheet, so apologize, Ralph, if I got that wrong today. But those are the stations that you would find them on. Hang on one second, guys. Hang on. Okay. Anyway, here we go. So what are we going to talk about today? Anything you want, as I said before. I do want to get into Soto and the Yankees. I'm going to start with Soto and the Yankees. We're going to get into the rest of the trade news. Ohtani, obviously, big news there, signing that big $700 million contract and then deferring $680 million of it. Again, it seems to me that they're kind of bypassing or what I want to say. Subverting the salary cap and avoiding a luxury tax and leaving himself open to have lots of money to sign Yamamoto, who's next on the list, by the way. But we'll talk about that more. Dave Guyette's here. Maybe he wants to talk about some Yankees. Dave, you can tell me what you think about the Verdugo trade or the Soto trade. I'm not happy. Verdugo I like, and I think he fits what I'd like to see the Yankees do more. Soto's got a great bat. Good young player, but he's got a year left on his contract, number one. You're going to have to dish out a big contract to keep him, or he's a rental, and you gave up a lot of really good pieces for him, starting with Michael King. Drew Thorpe, one of their best pitching prospects. Johnny Brito, who you've seen flashes of in the majors, who's had some success. Randy Vasquez, who's a good man in the bullpen and could probably be stretched out to be a starter. And you lose Higgy as well, the catcher who's so popular with a lot of the Yankee pitchers. So there's that part. There's the part that for Soto to fit, if you're going to keep Stanton and you can't do anything with him, then Soto's got to play right field. Verdugo's got to play left field. That means Aaron Judge has got to play center field every day. So not only do you increase the risk of injury for your number one player, the leader and the face of your team, but you also weaken the team. He's a good center fielder. He's a better right fielder. And Juan Soto is not a good defensive player. He also forgets how to run sometimes. Another one of those guys who, that ticked me off when I watched him turn doubles into singles and triples into doubles. So I just need to see And there's holes everywhere else. The starting staff right now is Cole, Clark Schmidt, maybe Nestor if he's healthy. And then what? So they're not done. They're still chasing Yamamoto. I don't think they're going to get him. I think he's going to go to LA. He wants to play with other Japanese stars. Where's the biggest Japanese star playing? Who just deferred $68 million of their $70 million contract? I just don't know. Anyway, Yankees, again, third base, still a lot to do. Rotation, bullpen. This is shaping up to be another flawed team. Hit home runs and win. Don't hit home runs and lose. Because I signed Soto. Verdugo I like. He plays hard. He's hard-nosed. I like his approach to the game. Decent defensive player. Little pop. I think fundamentally strong. I like Grisham, who came over, but where are you going to play him? He's a really good defensive center fielder. He's, not great with the bat, and you can hide him in a lineup full of other bats, but not as you got Soto, Verdugo, and Stanton clogging things up. So the fundamental side of the game, again, I don't think Brian Cashman has a clue how to put together a fundamentally sound team. Tries to find stars and guys who can hit the ball over the fence. And I don't want to disparage Soto. He's a great player. So anyway, that's where I started the show. Any comments in those regards, feel free to bring up. I'm going to go through some of these other deals and see what kind of the thought is about some of them. Look at Ohtani. This looks like a great deal for the Dodgers. Yes, they got to pay a bunch of money. And Ohtani, by the way, he gets $700 million. He's going to get $2 million for the next 10 years. Now, it's not that you... He's acquired some great wealth, I'm sure, up until now. He's going to get $680 million deferred in a Bobby Bonilla type deal. I don't think nearly as far out. But it gives the Dodgers great flexibility to be able to go after more pitching. Their pitchers were all hurt last year, if you remember. They're going to be after Yamamoto. They're going to be after some other guys. They just brought Tyler Glasnow in a trade yesterday. Dodgers are going to be tough. And you know what? The Mark Mancinis of the world are going to berate the Dodgers. But the Dodgers, I'm telling you right now, this is a good baseball team. They got a good manager. You can say whatever you want about the Dodgers winning 100 and going out in the playoffs quickly. For Dave Roberts to be able to keep that team alive last year with losing all of his starting pitchers at one point or another during the season and multiple ones at a time, for all the injuries he had, his starting shortstop goes out before the season starts. He's winning games with a bunch of guys hitting under 200. Manager of the year in the NL could have been Dave Roberts. So you got the Ohtani deal, and things will start and have started to fall into place. It's kind of a quiet winter meetings, right? But we've had some flair here the last couple of days. We had, as I said, yesterday, we had the Dodgers acquiring one of the best pitchers in the American League. Injuries have been one of the only things to slow him down. They pick up Glasnow and a functional outfielder in Manuel Margot from Tampa Bay for a couple of kids. Right-handed relief pitcher Pepito, I can't say his name, and outfielder Johnny DeLuca. He's a great trade for the Dodgers, and also the kind of trade that the Rays make all the time. Before you got to pay people, excuse me, my glasses always seem crooked. I don't understand why. and they get a couple of prospects back, and they save salary, and they'll make some other moves. I like that move for the Dodgers. John Flaherty signs with Jack Flaherty, signs with the Tigers. Remember, Flaherty was with the Cardinals last year, didn't have one of his stellar years, was traded to the Orioles later on. The Tigers in trying to replace Eduardo Rodriguez, who I'll talk about in a second. I'm not sure why he didn't go to the Dodgers last year. I'll talk about him right now. He didn't go to the Dodgers last year in the middle of a pennant race because the story was he wanted to stay back east with his family. But now he signs as a free agent with the Diamondbacks. So something smells funny here. I wonder how competitive this guy is. I wonder if this guy worried he'd get himself in the middle of a pennant race. I guess not that the Dodgers were in a pennant race at the time, but in the playoffs, and maybe hurt himself financially because of it. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. But anyway, to help replace him, the Tigers have signed a couple of, second-tier right-handers in Jack Flaherty, who I just mentioned, and Kenta Medea from the Twins, I believe, most recently. He can pitch in relief in a starter, and he's an effective pitcher. Innings eaters, if you will, these guys are. If they're good innings, that's great. If they're bad innings, well, that's not so great. So I find that very interesting. Tigers finished up strong last year, so I think it'll be interesting to see how this works out for them. The Rangers... the Rangers have, and again, but the Rangers are going to be hurt, and I've said this for a while. Jacob deGrom not scheduled to come back till maybe mid to late season next year. Now Max Scherzer with a back surgery, which kind of came up out of nowhere. He had some back issues last year, but came up a bit out of nowhere. He's going to be out until at least June next year. Now their staff is still pretty good, right? I mean, they've got Dunning. They've got Gray. They've got Eovaldi, who pitched very, very well last year. Andrew Haney, who I'm not a big fan of. And now they add Tyler Mahle to this rotation as well. It doesn't look like a bad rotation. And if some of these guys that are hurt come back, if DeGrom comes back and Scherzer should come back healthy, and they also acquired Kirby Yates, who's been out for God knows how long. I mean, they're counting on him to pitch at some point next year, but I'm not sure that that's a great plan is to count on this guy, as he's missed most of the last 3 or 4 years since he went to Toronto. He's had a couple of years of serious arm problems. Although he did pitch last year. I'm sorry. He pitched well in Atlanta last year in a bit of a less of a high leverage role. And their bullpen looks pretty good, especially at the back end. If Jose Leclerc pitches like he did in the postseason, well, they've got a pretty strong staff. I'm not confident that Eovaldi can match what he did last year. Remember, he had some injury issues. I'm not convinced John Gray won't have injury issues like he did again last year. Andrew Haney is Andrew Haney. And Dane Dunning, he's the best of his 4 guys in my mind. Maybe Eovaldi based off of last year, but I like Dane Dunning a lot. And I think them stretching him out full-time in a rotation is probably the way to go. So that's kind of an interesting move there. And I'm going to, Tyler Mahle is, again, another mid-rotation guy. He's never going to be spectacular. He's pitched in Minnesota the last couple of years, was with the Reds before that. His numbers last year, not spectacular. Some injury issues of his own. Excuse me. Some injury issues of his own. So we'll see how that works out for the Rangers. And an interesting under the radar move, the Giants, who, by the way, the Giants have just been swinging and missing like most of the Major League Baseball players, sluggers that we see today, everywhere. I mean, they went all in for Judge last year, and he said no. They went all in for Correa, and the contract got voided. They went all in this year for Ohtani and matched the Dodgers' $700 million offer over 10 years. And they're without him. So they keep swinging and missing, but they make a nice, I think, under the radar move with Korean baseball player, one of their best players there. I'm trying to think of his name right now. What the hell is his name? I know his last name is Lee. Jung Ho Lee, 25 years old, puts a bat on the ball tremendously. Had a great year last year. I think he hit about 340 maybe. Where's his numbers? I had his numbers in front of me. He hit 349 last year, 421 on base percentage, 575 slugging percentage. He had a career high 23 home runs. He leaves Korea. He's been there for 7 years. Came up when he was 18 with a 340 lifetime batting average. And more walks than strikeouts, which you don't see by far. You know, some of the analytic gurus will project that his numbers would be 305, 386 on base percentage, just under 500 slugging percentage, 14 homers, 70 walks, 58 strikeouts. Pretty good numbers. He puts the ball in play. This guy would have looked good in Yankee Stadium, let me tell you right now. He does steal a few bases, and his defense is pretty good as well. He'll probably be playing center field in San Francisco because they've got a lot of options on the corners, and Yastrzemski and Conforto, Slater, Haniger. Haniger didn't do much for them last year, but they also had some horrible guys making contact. This team only hit 235 as a team last year, and their on base percentage was atrocious as well. Might have been below 300 or at 300 at best. So I think this is a really under the radar A- signing for the Giants. And this is a place, you know, rather than the Yankees going after Soto, why don't I go after a guy like this so I can put in center field, put at the top of the lineup, and forget about him? You know, came at a reasonable price. I mean, relatively speaking, I think the contract he signed, which is fairly lucrative, 6 years and $113 million. But you compare that to what even Verdugo's getting, and even what, especially what Soto's getting paid and going to get paid. Don't forget the Yankees got to find a way to sign him, or he's a one-year rental, and you've wasted some of your best prospects on a one-year rental. So you're all in to win this year with a very, very, again, dysfunctional team. And I don't understand it. I just don't. Anyway. I'm just reading a note from work, trying to multitask here today. So anyway, I think it's a really good move under the radar for the Giants. Good move. Yankees lose out. Pirates signed Rowdy Tellez, formerly of the Brewers. You know, 1 year, $3.2 million. This is a bad baseball team. This is a bad baseball player because he fits pretty well. He hit 215 last year, and his OPS was around if I could do the math, not even 600. Hit 13 home runs in 311 at bats. I'm not sure exactly, you know, where this move is going to go, so I wouldn't get too worried. The Royals, interestingly enough, spent $45 million over 3 years on Seth Lugo, formerly of the Padres and formerly of the Mets before that, who's been a really good, sneaky good pitcher, usually in relief. Has done some spot starting, and I think I would be shocked if Lugo wasn't going to be in the Ranger or the Royals rotation next year. So we'll see how that goes. So they did also pick up veteran lefty Will Smith, 1 year, $5 million lately of the Rangers. Before that, he was with the Braves, had some good years. Righty Chris Stratton, who was a big prospect here at one point and had some arm problems. He signs a small contract with $3.5 million for 1 year. And I guess, they only had about $30 million to spend in free agency. So maybe they've made the best of their money. I like Seth Lugo. Always like Seth Lugo. I hate to see his career being wasted now with the Royals. That's all. But again, really good pitcher. What do you got here for me, Rick Sherlock? Good afternoon. Dr. Paul's been making some of the same points as it relates to their holes in the past. I'll be interested in hearing his take tomorrow, as will I, Rick. And I try to comment on Dr. Paul's show, but he doesn't look at the comments, if you haven't noticed. And maybe I meant to mention that to him. Or maybe he doesn't, and he ignores mine. I don't know. But this is a bad move. I'm sure you're talking about the Yankees moves. And at the top of the show, I said this, and I'll talk about it more on Sunday myself. This just makes no sense for me to take my best right field. I've weakened my whole outfield defense by moving my best outfielder from his best position to right field to center field, where not only is he's good, but he's not as good a center fielder as a right fielder. Plus, I put his injury risk much higher. He's going to wear down. I don't care what Mac thinks. Mac thinks it's not a big deal for whatever reason. Playing center field is not any different than playing right field. Well, I'll tell you it is a huge difference. And I don't know how to explain it to people who haven't done it. Okay. I just don't. Plus you got a guy who, again, hasn't been known to bust it down the first base and turns doubles into singles and triples into doubles. And he's got a great bat. Other than that, I don't know. And everybody likes the kid. Just hustle a little bit. I see you run out fly balls and turn some singles into doubles instead of the other way around, then maybe my attitude will change. And play some defense, right? So anyway, what else? What else has been going on here since I've been gone? So the Royals signed Lugo. We talked about that. Boston, after trading Verdugo to the Yankees, I do like Verdugo. Again, I don't know if you heard what I said, Rick. I would have liked to get the Korean kid, Lee, that the Giants signed, put him in center field, forget about him, keep judging right. Lugo's a fine addition to play left. And you don't have to be so worried about Stanton clogging up the DH. Now, Boone said today that Stanton's lost some weight, by the way, and he wants to play in the field next year and blah, 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 blah. Heard it all before. He gets hurt every year. When he's not hurt, his numbers have been going down pretty much every year. Last year was just awful. Fundamental. They don't know how to put together a fundamentally sound team. Oh, let's talk about that. I'm not crazy. Tyler O'Neill had a nice year 2 years ago. The Yankees were after him at the deadline 2 years ago. Even this deadline, they were. He's a great athlete. He's a good defensive player. He got pretty good speed. Had a pretty good start in St. Louis when he came up in 2021. He hit 286 with 34 home runs and won a Gold Glove. But he's been going down, and he finished 8th in the MVP voting even. But he's gone steadily downhill since then, right? I mean, he strikes out way too much. His defense has been not as stellar. There's a lot of young guys that have regressed for St. Louis in the last couple of years, including O'Neill, including Dylan Carlson, Jordan Walker, Tommy Edman to a certain extent. But there's still a lot of young players with those guys and Nootbaar. You've got veterans at first and third with Goldschmidt and Arrienda. Where's Drew when I need him? So this is a team that could bounce back quickly, and I like, they got a little bit of a pitching depth in Robertson and Santos back from the Red Sox, so might be a good move there. What do you got here, Rickster? I can't speak to the change in positions on baseball, but the same can be said about football. Left tackle and right tackle is completely different. It's just the amount of ground you got to cover out there on a day-to-day basis. And again, Judge does it fine. He's very proficient center fielder. He's not as good a right as he is in right field, where he's a Gold Glover. And again, you just put him at greater risk because you're constantly backing up plays in left field and right field, in the middle of the infield. And again, just more balls are hit that way than anywhere else. That's why you have your speediest guys in center field and your best defenders in center field. Yes, he's their best defender, but I don't want that day in and day out, because it's, again, adding to the injury risk for an already fragile Aaron Judge. God, it just frosts me sometimes. I know Mac, doesn't think Aaron Rodgers is a loafer or anything, but it just, again, it doesn't sit right with me. It really doesn't. Anyway, what else has happened? The Reds add to a loaded infield. It's a very strange signing for the Reds, signing Candelario, another guy. Remember last year he was traded from Washington to the Cubs, had his career year last year. Yankees, another guy the Yankees were chasing at the trade deadline with no success. Had some decent success. He had a great early season. Still had some success with the Cubbies. The Reds have a ton of infielders. I mean, obviously India's got to go, and also I'm trying to think of the other guy that they have. This is already going to push Spencer Steer into the outfield most likely. You're set at shortstop with Dela Cruz. You're set at second base with Matt McLain. Strand, I should say, and Carcione Strand over there, I guess. I would think Marte is probably going to get traded or pushed to a DH role. In India, they've been trying to trade for a couple of seasons now as he's regressed greatly. So we'll see what happens there. But the Reds, loaded with talent on the infield, probably more trades to come there. Talked about the Yankees. The Diamondbacks signed, I mentioned this at the top, near the top. Eduardo Rodriguez signs with the Diamondbacks, 4 years, $80 million. He's slated to be their fourth starter. I mean, they already had Zach Gallen and Merrill Kelly, who are very good, and the rise of Brandon Fad. No, I'm not saying his name right. In the playoffs, really pushes Rodriguez to a fourth starter here. And I find it interesting that he refused to trade to the Dodgers at the trade deadline last year into a middle of a pennant race because he wanted to stay east with his family, is what was reported. But now you're signing out west in Arizona. So I don't understand why he's pulled himself. I have suspicions that he was worried about, maybe not performing well on a big stage and it affecting his value here in the offseason. Now he makes out all right, 4 years, $80 million for a guy who until last year was pretty much a journeyman starter. But I just find the whole thing pretty strange. The Verdugo trade, the Yankees give up some other pitchers. I mean, they've traded so much pitching depth for Soto and Verdugo. In this case, a little bit less talent-wise, certainly, than they traded for Soto. But again, he's probably a good fit in right field. First trade the Yankees have made with the Yankees. Let's see. This is the 8th trade between these two teams since division era began in 1969. They don't make a lot of trades. They don't make blockbuster trades either. I mean, the biggest trade they ever made was probably trading Don Baylor for Mike Easler. But the Yankees needed a left-handed bat. Now they got two with Soto. And I mean, that's the other thing. I want a plus. Maybe I shouldn't be all negative with Soto. The plus is he is a left-handed power bat, which the Yankees desperately needed. And Verdugo is too. I mean, over the past 3 years, he's hit 294. He's got a decent on-base percentage, a decent slugging percentage against righties, but he's struggled against lefties. So we may see some form of a platoon that might get distracted again by work. Might get a little bit of probably Stanton into the outfield a little bit, and maybe Soto into the DH, and Judge can play some right field, and Grisham can play some center field. You'll see a lot of Grisham late in games, I'm sure, where they slide Judge over to right field and put Grisham in the center field as well. But I there's something about Verdugo that I like, and I think Yankee fans are going to like him because he plays hard. Compared to a lot of guys today, he really busts it out there as well. The White Sox think righty Eric Fetty will be 31 on opening day. Never had much of a career. He's had 6 seasons in the majors, 5.41 ERA. No sense spending a lot of time talking about him. I would say in a trade that does mean some stuff, the Braves have been very busy this offseason. They acquire Kelenic from the Mariners in a 5-player swap. I like this trade for the Braves. They get Kelenic and also Marco Gonzalez, left-handed pitcher, Evan White, first baseman, and some cash in exchange for a couple of really prospect right-hand pitchers, Cole Phillips and Jackson Kowar. This is a great move for the Braves. He's going to move right into that lineup, I would say, in the outfield, and probably into that middle of the batting order. And this is the kind of guy, I think, a left-handed bat, something that they could use, I think, similar to the Yankees. I think he's had a really good career. Struggled at times last year with the Mariners, as a lot of the Mariners did. But you know, he ended up being missing most of the end of the season with a broken foot. But I think this is a trade that really is a bit lopsided in the Braves' favor. We didn't talk. I think we may have talked before I was away for a week about the Mets bringing in Luis Severino. You know, this is a 1-year, $13 million deal, and you know, it's your basic make good contract, right? He's getting 1 year to show he can be healthy, show he can pitch like he's not one of the worst pitchers in baseball, which he was literally the worst pitcher in baseball numbers wise for much of last year, before he was passed at the end of the year by somebody that I'm sure I will never come to my mind. Now he moves into a rotation headed by Senga, who had a really good rookie year after coming over from Japan. Jose Quintana, who's hurt a lot last year, similar to Severino. Tyler McGill will be in the mix here. Joey Lucchesi will probably be part of that, but the Mets may not be done here in this rotation. Again, you're counting on 2 guys in Quintana and Severino who have missed several weeks, if not more, during the last few regular seasons. Good question about Ian Anderson. Let's his name hasn't, and I don't know if Dave Guyette's still with us. Dave Guyette happens to be related to Ian Anderson, and it's been a couple of years now. He first got demoted. He came up and he was a sensation, if you remember. Pitched well in the playoffs for the Braves. I'm trying to find a way to check him out here. That's what get some information, because I like the question, Rick. Haven't heard his name in a while, and he kind of regressed. How much of that was to the arm, because of the arm trouble? I'm not sure, but let's just see what we can find out here news-wise on Ian Anderson. And I do not want the Ian Anderson who founded Jethro Tull. First guy I get. Thanks for that, Rick. April 11th, 2023. That's the most recent news we have. So 2 weeks ago. Here we go. That was in April. Let's look at this article from 2 weeks ago. This is a review of his season. Well, we know that that's not really results. We know we're around. 2024 outlook. Injury timeline can vary from player to player. So there's a lot of uncertainty. Still, Anderson's timetable seems to suggest a return sometime in 2024. If you remember, he had Tommy John surgery in April, kind of late, right? And this is yearly a year plus before guys get back. So we'll see. So the rest of this news piece says, of course, there are a lot of questions surrounding Anderson's recovery and eventual effectiveness. Best case scenario for the Braves, of course, an ad pops up in front of me, is going to involve him coming back healthy to pitch the way he did before the shoulder injury derailed him in 2022. As I mentioned, a lot of his lack of effectiveness or decrease in effectiveness, as you will, because he wasn't terrible, was because of this injury. If it takes all of 2024 and gives him a way to make the rotation in 2025, then so be it. He still projects as something like a fourth starter that could stay healthy enough to pitch 80 innings or so when he returns. This would be next year. But that's highly a very centralized estimate and takes into account all sorts of possible paths for him going forward. So still recovering, still optimistic, apparently, in the Braves world. This was written by a writer for the who covers the Braves. And this is actually an article about his 2023 season in review, and the one-time top prospect and postseason hero struggled in 2022 and lost his entire 2023 to injury. So there you have your Ian Anderson update. Good question, Rick. Haven't thought about Ian in a while. Glad to talk about it. Speaking of pitchers, man, there's a lot of tier 2, maybe even tier 3 pitchers available. Sonny Gray, who's done really well everywhere he's pitched except New York with the Yankees, has pitched really well the last few years with the Twins, pitched really well with the A's before that. He has signed a 3-year, $75 million deal with the Cardinals. Again, filling out the depth chart with free agency is not always the St. Louis way to go, but they've done pretty well here, and this has been their splashiest signing yet. He was a finalist for the American League Cy Young Award last year. So he also joined some other veterans, Lance Lynn, Kyle Gibson, who also signed with St. Louis this year. So St. Louis, again, trying to rebuild that pitching staff on the fly. Lots of trades for lots of young arms and now some veteran arms that you see. Especially Lance Lynn signed a 1-year contract. Kyle Gibson signed a 1-year contract. Sonny Gray is a notch above those guys. Those guys are tier 3 at best. Sonny Gray's solidly on tier 2. We talked about Medea, not from the movies, going from the Twins to the Tigers, as they've now signed John Flaherty as well to try to make up for the loss of Eduardo Rodriguez. And hopefully they'll get further development from guys like Matt Manning and Casey Mize and guys that will contribute to that rotation as well. Earlier, I think we'd already talked about Eugenio Suarez going to the Mariners for a couple of pitchers in Vargas and Zavala. I still think, I know Drew is higher on this trade for the Diamondbacks than I am. Suarez is, the perfect 3 true outcome guy. And I expect more of the same. Low batting average, lots of strikeouts, and 25 home runs. And decent defense. He's got a decent glove. So he'll probably be an effective replacement for Evan Longoria, who played a lot of the time over there last year, and his season's about done. Where else? I had did I have anybody else I wanted to chat about here? I know I had some. Let's look at these free agents. If there's anything in this article I might have missed. The Royals, we talked about signing bargain basement pitchers. They signed Michael Wacha to a 2-year, $32 million contract. That's a little bit much for Michael Wacha in my mind. We talked about the Glasnow trade, big trade for the Dodgers. I'm telling you, this team. A lot of talk too. Now that Tyler Glasnow's been traded, will Corbin Burnes be next for the Brewers? He's another guy who's been kicked about. His name has been kicked about. He'd look good in pinstripes, man, but I just don't think the Yankees have what it takes to get him. Maybe I'll part with a prospect or two, but not all the best ones for Corbin Burnes. Got a little bit of wear and tires, if you know what I mean. Let's see what else is going on in the news around baseball that I might have missed here in this run through. We talked about Scherzer being out until midseason after back surgery. So the Rangers will have about $80 million sitting on the bench until at least midseason last year, as DeGrom is not scheduled to come back until midseason to late season at best, if he pitches next year at all. Hunter Renfroe, by the way, also signed with the Royals recently. They're putting together a team that would be better off competing against the Valley Cats here. I mean, it looks like an independent league team in my mind. We'll see how that goes. What's this interesting story? St. Petersburg, the city of St. Petersburg, is eyes raise a name change. Team opposed to the idea. They went for the Devil Rays, if you remember, to simply the Tampa Bay Rays. And now as new plans for a new ballpark take shape, there's talk about changing the name again to reflect the team's actual location, St. Petersburg Rays. So Tampa would come out of it. They're in the Tampa, St. Petersburg area. The new stadium will be built in St. Petersburg, though. So the team does not want to make this name change. From a branding standpoint, I understand. I understand the city where they're going to be playing would like to name them too, but I can think of two very prominent examples of where that doesn't happen here in New Jersey, where we have two professional teams playing in New Jersey that call themselves New York teams. I never understand it. Don't tell me New York's New Jersey, because it never will be. Giant fans and Jet fans, if you didn't know I was talking about you. The Orioles lease at Camden Yards is heading to a vote. They want a new stadium. That was a state-of-the-art stadium, it seems like 10 years ago. And these stadiums used to have a 50 or 60 or 70 or 100-year lifespan. Now they got about a 10-year lifespan, as the Orioles want a new lease. I would say they want to remodel or a new stadium. And Camden Yards is unsure that you want to give them a new lease at Camden Yards. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens in this vote, I suppose, as well. What else? We talked about that. Talked about soda. I shake my head all the time. I'm going to have to watch Dr. Paul tomorrow morning, Rick. Check the Athletic. They sometimes have some news. The Orioles, I guess, according to Ohtani, were given the chance. Oops, sorry about that. We're given the chance to match the offer the Dodgers gave. And remember, the Giants did match the offer, but they declined to do that. And this whole deferring, this whole Bobby Bonilla contract that Ohtani signed, to me, it kind of subverts the salary cap in Major League Baseball. So you're deferring $68 million of his $70 million contract. So he's only on a payroll for $2 million each year for the next 10 years. That certainly allows you to stay under luxury tax unless you just go crazy. Gives them lots of money. They already cleared $160 million in salary for this coming year before they signed Ohtani. And now basically they've still got $160 million left to spend in free agency, theoretically, including for Yamamoto and anybody else that might be out there that they find attractive. And to me, it's circumventing the the basic bargaining agreement just a little bit. We'll see how that goes. I did hear that I did not hear about Washington Wizards. I got a funny line about that, by the way. I did hear, in fact, somebody this morning, I think it might have been CA, was talking about the fact that the Capitals were looking to move to Virginia. It is a cesspool there, and it's funny. If you remember, I don't know if you know this story, Rick, but back in the, I want to say the late 70s, it might have been the 80s, when they were the Bullets, the Washington Bullets, before they were the Washington Wizards. They played in Washington, and they wanted Bullets. The reason they changed the name from the Bullets is because they didn't want to be associated, the name associated with violence. So they took Bullets out of the name, where a lot of people thought it would have been more effective if they wanted to disassociate themselves from crime and violence, or crime. I guess it was crime, not necessarily violence. But if they wanted to really take crime, what am I trying to say here? If they really wanted to disassociate their name from crime, they would take Washington out of their name and not Bullets. So I thought that was always a very funny line. I don't know what writer said that. I did not make that up. Of course, I'm not that smart, given my Perth degree and all. What time we got here? 3:47. We got a few minutes left. If anybody's got any kind of comments they want to chat about, I'll look for a couple other quick notes of things that might catch my my drift. The whole Ohtani thing does smell funny to me, and I'll be surprised if the league doesn't step up and say, contracts can't be written this way, because you are, subverting the rules for the salary cap, just to try to avoid a tax. So I don't know that they'll step in here. They're not going to void this contract, certainly, but some of the language might have to change at some point. Probably can't do it now, but going forward, we could see some changes there. I mean, those were my two big stories of the week, were certainly Ohtani and Soto. I'm looking forward. I'll recap my Soto take. Not terribly happy with the trade. I thought they might have done better bringing in a lesser tier. Cody Bellinger would have been a great guy to bring in. I think this Lee kid from Korea that the Giants signed would have been a great guy to bring in. Because, the Soto thing brings too many things. I gave up too much for him in my mind. I love Michael King. The progress Michael King was making and pitching out of the bullpen, and they were getting ready to lengthen him out to be a starter. And he's got the ability to be a top-line starter in this league. That's too much. Thorpe, one of the best prospects in the organization. And all of the other pitchers all had some upside. It's shown either upside with the Yankees at one point, like Brito, some downside too. But again, there's a growing thing going on. So they gave up a lot for maybe a one-year rental. You don't think, they can't pay him more than they paid Judge. And the price for these guys just went up. I get the fact that, Ohtani is an albatross here, and the fact that albatross isn't a word. I'll use that. It's an albatross. As he can pitch, theoretically, maybe he never pitches again. We don't know. And the price tag just went up to $70 million instead of $60. And they can't pay him more than they pay Judge. No way. Now, so you got to get him signed, or it's a one-year rental, which means you're all in on this year. And I think the team is fundamentally flawed, because just by bringing in Soto, you've got to take one of your best defensive players out of his position and put him in a place where he's less proficient, still good, less proficient, and now you're weak on both corners. The whole outfield's worse defensively. Fundamental baseball, though, is good defense. It leaves you less money and to address a really weak starting staff, where only Cole and probably Clark Schmidt are sure things next year. Next year, we hope is healthy, but there's no guarantee. And then there's a bunch of question marks. Now, they're not done. They're after Yamamoto. I don't think he's coming here. I think he's going to the Dodgers. So we're going to end up with some lesser tier starting pitchers. We're going to overpay for another Carlos Rondon. Told you what was going to happen there last year. And I said to you, remember where you heard it first, when that guy breaks down or pitches horribly because he doesn't have the makeup, and you saw he didn't have the makeup for Yankee Stadium when he tried to come back from injury late last year and was flipping fans off with Brian Cashman needs to go. He can't put a team together. You still need a third baseman. Now, maybe the kid Peraza will play third base next year, and Volpe, who surprisingly won a Gold Glove last year, so his defense has improved, or there were no other good defensive shortstops in the American League. I expect a big jump from Volpe next year. Less strikeouts. I don't need a lot of more power. The power he supplies is fine. Improve the batting average, improve the on-base percentage, lower the strikeouts. So we'll see how that turns out, right? I don't have much else to chat about. I mean, we still got, there's still some prime guys out there left, in Yamamoto and Bellinger. Yankees, I'm sure, are out of the Bellinger sweepstakes now. Talked a lot about him going to the Giants. Giants keep swinging and missing, man. We'll see what they do. Blake Snell is still out there. Jordan Montgomery is still out there. Dylan Cease is still out there. So again, there's a lot of guys out there for the Yankees to really overpay and bring in here. I don't want them to bring in a Blake Snell. I don't want them to bring back a Jordan Montgomery. I saw what Jordan Montgomery can do. He's fine for what he is. Dylan Cease, again, they'll overpay. I'd love to see him come in here on a 1-year make good contract, but they'll overpay. Glasnow's off the market. Matt Chapman is a guy with the Blue Jays who I think the Yankees probably are still in contact with. He would look good here in my mind. Good glove, and I think a good just a good makeup, I think, to play on this team. The opposite of Josh Donaldson, right? Josh Hader's out there and available. I want to really see Holmes moved into that 8th inning role, even a 7th inning role, and out of that high leverage 9th inning spot. Get Josh Hader in here. Josh Hader will pitch any place in the game, and that's another thing Aaron Boone needs to start to do. Don't save your closer for the 9th inning when you may not even get there. There are high leverage situations all throughout the game, and you can't be afraid to use your top guy in those positions. The game could be on the line in the 5th inning, 6th inning, 7th inning. See how I count? I do pretty good, right? Don't get yourself locked into my closer's got to pitch. Come in with nobody out and pitch in the 9th inning. Let's get back to the way these guys should be used and leverage in a situation where they should be making the money that they make to do the job that they do. Put out fires. Not just pitch the last three outs. That's about all I got for now. There's some of the guys that are still available, some of the guys that are signed, some of my thoughts on it. We'll have Drew back in again when he's back from vacation, and we'll talk more about this stuff. And in the meantime, guys, feel free to shoot me emails, shoot me messages on the TGI Sports Talk page. Please tune in and watch us Sunday on the Stream of Consciousness show. We'll get into more of this and some other things in sports, obviously. And also catch us next Wednesday in the College Sports Huddle as we still talk college football and start to pivot into basketball. And also Friday with the Are You Serious Major League Baseball. Catch me on the Mac and Jack show on Friday mornings and Sunday mornings before my shows start. And guys, it's been a pleasure to be with you again as always. And Rick, thanks for jumping in here. See you tomorrow, Ian. Not tomorrow. You won't see me tomorrow. Tomorrow we have the Wednesdays college football huddle being shown tomorrow at 9 a.m. We were back at 7 p.m. Next week, by the way, another scheduling note, though, we will not have the college huddle. I've got a Christmas party on Wednesday night. We will be doing it live again the following Saturday at 9 a.m. Sorry to confuse you there. Rick, I'm sure that's where I probably confused you. So anyway, catch you guys later. Have a great weekend. Keith Engel for TGI Sports Talk's Major League Baseball